Kia ora koutou katoa.
Fine, yes.
That again. Kia ora koutou katoa. Welcome to our public excluded council meeting for Wednesday, the 13th of May. Welcome to our number and public forum. And Victoria, welcome. And Joseph from our youth council, welcome. If we can be upstanding for our karakia timatanga. Mai te whae mauna, raro ki te whae. Mai te awa tonga, raro ki te awa raki. Tēnei te hapuri, ati ai taratahi. Whānau, whānau, haere mai te tauki. Hobi e, hui e, tā ki e. Thank you, everybody. Apologies.
Received one from Joel.
We have that noted. An apology from Joel Nati. Also want to acknowledge Grace, our deputy mayor, who's online, who's at home with a young baby at the moment. I have a mover for apologies. Yes. Thank you. Councillor Casey and Councillor Newman, all in favour? Yes. Carried. Conflict of interest? No. Right, public forum. Welcome, Eric. No?
No.
I think I'll jump ahead.
You can jump ahead minutes.
Well, we should have Ali here, but Eric.
I'm Ali.
But Eric, don't they?
Yes.
You'd like to come up to talk to your item? Is it the- yeah.
Just thought it might be easier. I know we've got 5 minutes. Just if I could just maybe pass a little summary from the letter I wrote in December, and then some on the other side, page 2, is just some things I wanted to raise today. Just pass those along.
Can you talk?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you for the opportunity to come along. As you know, I did write to council in December. And I do want to acknowledge Brian. Thank you so much, Brian, for coming to meet me at my home in January, which I really appreciated. However, I do want to just raise, in my letter, I raised about 3 questions and also some possible opportunity for Carterton District Council. And I had no response from the council at all on that. And so I do want to please make sure that points 1, 2, and 3 are acknowledged, and at least please inform me as to what the what Carterton District Council's standards on that, and also some opportunities that I raised. Now, ostensibly, this was all about road safety. I'm a High Street South resident, and road safety is a key issue for me. And I do thank Brian for the opportunity to come along to the NZTA meeting. I do have to say that was, in terms of being a public member there, I found that of very little value. I understand that NZTA are all about enacting government policy, but it really was a ducking for cover exercise. In my letter, I said I've taken out these points and the action plans that I actually, as possible things. I know I put need to. That was my. I needed to write need, but there's an opportunity. I won't read all that out. You've got it in front of you. But on page 2, there's some key points that need discussion today. Number 1 was that there was no acknowledgement by council of my questions in bold above, and the proposed actions or opportunities. So I want that noted that I hadn't been contacted about that. B, the unsupported change in the use of the garage, for example, is a huge contributor to some of the issues that we face on High Street South. I've done a little picture there of where we live on High Street South. Short of getting emotive, some of the emotive stuff might have been in my letter, but I'm just exchanging the facts now. It just does not work as an area, and road users, and I'm putting, obviously truck drivers are the worst offenders in logging trucks with noise. It's the impression, actually, dare I say, of local companies as well, in the way that they drive, and also people feel it is game on once you get onto High Street. And that's not acceptable. And I do need to then be sure that the council take that seriously. Part C was right. Sorry, what was that?
Time is up.
Okay, thank you.
If you obviously want to round up what you want to say.
Yeah, okay, it's just part C, D and E there. I'd like them, please, acknowledged. That is what I definitely need to say, so thank you.
Hang on here. Thank you, Eric.
If there's any questions, council, now's the opportunity to council to ask you questions.
Yep.
So we have the ability to ask you questions now. Our next agenda item is to discuss things that are raised in our public forum by members of the public. So we have that ability next to then discuss what you've brought to the table. So do we have any questions on what he's presented? Okay. Thank you,
Just ask
Eric.
you one question. Item 3 on page 1. Does the council support billboards like the one up between Carterton and Masterton?
Yes, that was put up and that was since taken down. I just had that as a question in my letter.
What was it?
It was I put a screenshot of it as well. It was a billboard advocating, celebrating 100 kilometres an hour. And it was all a subliminal messaging with that, which really was completely unacceptable. I think it lasted about 3 weeks. I actually hoped that the Carterton District Council had some say in its removal. But I did write to Mr. Buttrick about that, saying it wasn't appropriate.
Thank you. Ellie, welcome to the table.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity to talk today. My name is Ellie Cleland and I live at 55 Lincoln Road in Carterton. The Waikakariki stream runs along the front and down one side of my property and along the back of my neighbours' properties. When it rains, my neighbours and I get anxious about our properties being flooded. In the last storm, I had a bag packed and I got up several times in the night to check the water level in the stream, and I know my neighbours did the same. Currently, the local residents are responsible for the stream maintenance. The council used to do this, but changed the rules a few years ago without consulting the homeowners. I feel the council should be responsible for maintaining the stream as it's a flood risk, and when it rains, a large volume of stormwater runs in from both Victoria Street and Lincoln Road. Additionally, not all residents are able to maintain their section of the stream. The council should be responsible for providing resilient infrastructure to protect residents from flooding. I found evidence online that the local residents have been asking for something to be done about the stream and to manage the flood risk for at least the last 5 years. Ideally, the waterway should either be piped or made deeper as it runs through an urban area and is a flood risk. It's obviously been an issue for several years and it's about time we saw some action to make it change.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions?
How long have you lived at the property, Ellie?
Just over a year.
And when you purchased the house, did you get, is it a limb to
It's
get
on the limb.
information? So
It's
it
on
was
the-
on the limb that it was managed by the residents.
Other questions for Ellen? No?
Probably just thanks, Ellie, for coming and presenting. And my question basically is that if the residents are now responsible for managing or cleaning the stream, are some doing it or none at all? Or
Some do, some don't.
so is there any group of residents that get together, or do you get together as a group and work it out what's going on, or is it just left?
It's just left to individuals, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, that's public forum. We'll move on to item 5, which is discussion of the public forum, and we'll start with Eric's issues with down High Street South. You happy to?
Can I ask Sally?
Yes.
The use of, what the petrol stations now become, does the council actually have any control over that?
We do to a degree. Things like the vape shop, we don't regulate those premise. It's always been a slight issue for councils, but things like the basically it's operating within existing use rights.
Okay.
So the test is visit or lease. It doesn't have to be that same activity, but there's a scale of it. So it was consented by the bill in consent in 1955 for a garage. So there has been quite a long established history of a vehicle repair station and a petrol station as well.
Yeah.
And petrol stations by default, you see a lot of them sell hot food and things as well. The component of the vape shop, there was a consent with signage when the bigger gas signs came up. When it changed its brands, but yeah, there's a very long and detailed history of that site having been used as a commercial premise, so it does have existing use rights under the Resource Management Act.
Okay. And while I've got you, I'll appreciate it if you can answer about the billboards that Eric was asking about. Do we have any say on what people display? Because it was on private property. You sure?
The district meter does regulate signage, and we do have things called temporary signage for certain events or advertising messages.
Okay.
In that particular instance, we need to have a look at the district plan and see the sort of within that general purpose of some form of advertising that it may do, and that could have been one that's up very quickly.
Okay.
Signs are a real battle. The minute they go up, they take months to convince people to remove them.
Okay.
They are a real problem, and if you're on the state highways, also NZTA can require them to be removed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sally.
The discussion on the points that Eric's raised. I just want to say, just point C, council certainly does have an interest in road safety, and as you'll be aware around the table, I sent a number of questions to NZTA probably 2 months ago, and we received replies to my questions with responses saying we're not prepared to do anything. And my questions were varied to do with the raised pedestrian crossings and not being built to a standard and a number of other things along the lines of what Eric has raised. So we have the same difficulty dealing with NZTA that you have as personally. So we do care, absolutely.
I'll just say, I feel like, thanks for raising these points, Eric. State Highway 2, there's a tension between it as a national freight route and also the front street of our town and where residents are living. So there's a lot of different purposes to it. Your point about convening a meeting for High Street residents with NZTA representatives and potentially trucking industry representatives, I would support that as a way of people having an opportunity to have their say and try to find a way forward for this.
Councillor Birds. Any further discussion on Eric?
I just want to make a comment in support of what Eric said. High Street is such a busy place, especially for the kids before and after school. And I've got 4 kids. We walk up and down there almost every day. It's not safe. The crossings are not safe. Walking past gas station is not safe. So I completely hear what you're saying. It is, like Jane just said, it's a really tricky in between that we sit with NZTA, but like safety on all roads is really important to council, not just High Street, it's all roads. And I hear what you're saying. And I think we need to do what we can do within our own remit to make it safe for people to travel around our town.
Councillor Newman. I just want to finish and just say if we can take a couple of actions from that with Solitaire, if you're able to provide a bit of information around the garage, just the question Eric's asked, and the signage, just that signage that goes up temporary. And I think we know the signage, the exact signage. There were 3 signs that Eric was talking about with a MP on the face of them. We can just find out how they fit into our bylaws, I guess.
Are you happy with notes to the signage chapter of the district plan being provided?
That would be great. Thank you. Thanks again, Eric. Ellie and 55 Lincoln Road.
You're the expert.
Conflict of interest. I'm happy to speak to this a little bit. Just, Ellie, it'd be good for you to know that council is looking at the Waikariki, and so are Greater Wellington Regional Council, alongside the Mangatiriri stream and how that is managed. And I'm not going to preempt anything that they might be going to come up with, but council is certainly looking at how we can partner with Greater Wellington to protect town as such from the Mangatiriri stream breaking out, which flows into the Waikariki and causes the flooding that's occurred in the past. And we've been very lucky we haven't had that occur for quite a few years. So just it is being looked at between Greater Wellington and Carterton District Council. So we will keep the community informed with. I'm sure that those discussions will fall into our long-term plan discussions as to how we might look to invest in a catchment plan. So, but thank you for bringing your issue to the council table. I know it impacts quite a number of people. Any further discussion on what Ellie's presented? No. Okay, thank you. Item 6, Youth Council views on agenda items. Josie. To the table.
Good afternoon, everybody. So looking for the agenda, we had a couple comments to make. I'm going to start on the agenda item 8.7, which is the community survey. While looking for the information gained from the community survey, the Youth Council wondered if we could use more inclusive language in our surveys, as the gender category only specified 2 genders and then a prefer not to say category. Looking at the survey last night, there was a option to enter your own gender, right in your own gender as an other category. While we appreciate this is the option to just put non-binary or gender non-conforming as an option, as it can cause people to feel like they're not wanted to answer the survey if we don't include that as an option. Looking over the survey, we also saw that the age groups to answer the survey were 15 to 17 and 18 to 29, but they have been combined in the final survey statistics. So to best ascertain which groups we as the Youth Council can help you get involved, we do need to know the actual breakdown between those 2 categories, as 15 to 17 and then 18 to 29 are 2 very different age groups. We also looked in the CE report and found a statement on the passing level, the amount of people passing NCA level 3. We found that it was unnecessary for the report as a whole and the part of the report it was in. as well as I further went in and looked at the NZQA website and found the statistics, which I am happy to share, on the passing levels, which didn't support the comment in the CE's report. Do you want the statistics?
I'll get them off you later.
There you go.
More than happy.
Sounds good.
It was in the MTFJ section.
It was in the get to work section, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'll take that feedback. Thank you, Josie. Do we have questions for what the youth council has raised? No? Okay, thank you so much,
Thank
Josie.
you.
We really appreciate your team's input.
So much.
Okay, moving on to item 7. We have the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 1st of April 2026. Do we have a mover and a seconder that they are a true and accurate record?
I'll move it.
Councillor Della, Councillor Burns, all in favour?
I
Against? Carried. That was easy. On to 8. And we start with 8.1, YT Waters, establishment update. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for having me along again. Nice to see you all. So this is just another chance to touch base and give you an update on how we're going on YT Waters establishment. I'll take the paper as read, but happy to answer any questions that anybody has about any of the aspects of the program. Probably just make a couple of points. We've made quite significant progress since we last came to update you in February. It's been a big couple of months for us. So stage 1 of our program is now complete. We have an incorporated company and a board of directors in place. That board has been inducted and briefed on the different aspects of the program, and they've made a number of pretty significant decisions that we need in order to keep us moving, which is fantastic. Brian and Stakeholders Forum have done a great job appointing a board that really has both pretty strong connection to the area and also great skills to govern the company going forward, which is fantastic. Just couple of key things to pick out of the paper. So we're underway with the search for the chief executive at the moment. So you may have seen that out and in the market. We're also currently consulting with staff across the 4 councils on the approach to transition for key staff to come across to the company. And we've been working pretty actively with the Stakeholders Forum on the development of the statement of expectations. So that process is going pretty well and nearing the end of the process, I think. So those were the key things I just wanted to pick out of the report, but happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. Questions for Catherine? I have one, or a couple actually. On page, just trying to get it. The various dates are mentioned or months are mentioned, and just under the statement of expectations, it states the stakeholder forum in July approves the final statement and recommends its adoption to shareholding councils. My question is, should the board be in there as well? So should the stakeholder forum and the board approve the final statement and recommend its adoption to shareholding councils?
So the board has the opportunity to provide feedback on the statement and discuss that with the forum, but the statement is a statement. It is a direction by the shareholding council, so it's not for the board to adopt. They receive it.
Okay.
So the forum will complete the process, recommend to the shareholders that it is adopted and issued to the company, and then the board takes that and uses it to develop its water services strategy after that. So it's not a board decision.
No, it's not about for me being a board decision. It was more under June. The stakeholder forum and board meet to discuss the draft, and the board provides written feedback.
Yep.
So I would have expected that the board then agreed to how the final statement was put forward with the stakeholder forum, because that had input into it. That was all.
I guess it would depend on the nature of their feedback, but it's not their statement
Okay.
to approve. But I would certainly expect that conversation between the forum and the board raises up any areas where they may be uncomfortable with the direction and kind of works those through, so that the point at which it comes back to them as issued direction, I would hope they would be comfortable with what's in it.
Okay, I've got another question just slightly further down. There's a comment written, these are now available to staff to review and provide feedback on by the 20th of May.
Yep.
And I just wanted to ask the question, are our staff comfortable with that path forward, just with that timeline as such? Just things, I know you have a lot going on.
Let's clarify which page you want. What are we, what is,
16.
which component is
We'll
providing
put
feedback on?
Staff transition guidelines.
Right, so they had been presented to staff, with 2 sessions, 2 different times that staff could join and go through the staff transition guidelines. I'm not sure we've had too much in the way of feedback.
So they've been aware that these guidelines were being developed and the intent of them. So we've had quite a long lead and well supported by HR and the transition manager about socialising what's in the transition guidelines and the pathways they'll take. And of course, our staff particularly have been through this before under the previous what is transition as well. So the guidelines have some differences, but the intent is similar. So yeah, the 20th of May, we have time. I'm sure if there's any extensions needed, then they've had an opportunity, but our teams are supporting them quite well and addressing any questions or concerns.
Right. Councillor Lawrence?
Page 16, digital and systems. Whenever we've talked about the transition here, the potential cost of IT systems bothers us. You've given us a fairly fulsome update on where you're up to, including, this is one of the things we're keen on, exploring the opportunities of sharing systems with other water transitions, because presumably most people, a lot of people will be looking at the same things. Can you elaborate on that just a little bit? Are you sort of comfortable with how all that's shaking out?
Yeah, I mean, this is a big part of the transition, and it's probably fair to say this is the area the board has either been in place for a couple of weeks, and so they're still, working through understanding kind of where we're at on that. But they have given us the direction to talk to other transitions just to see where people are up to. So we will be doing that and thinking about where the opportunities might be or not. Obviously, we need to kind of consider there's a time implication of seeking to have those conversations and get agreement on, well, determining feasibility of whether you can share systems or not, and then getting to agreement about how that might work. You need to kind of weigh that up against taking decisions and kind of moving forward on our own pathway. So there's some factors to kind of weigh up there. But I think even if we aren't in a world where we are sharing systems, there is a broader sector drive towards a standardised, people landing in a similar place with respect to their system, so that in the future, if the way in which the groupings of shareholding councils or things change, or companies come together or things like that, that makes that future integration more straightforward.
That's encouraging, because we're aware over the generations, sometimes these things spiral out of control.
Any further questions, Catherine, or discussion? No? Just Councillor Dillis.
Comments. I just, as part of the stakeholders forum, I've seen a lot of work that's been going in behind the scenes from Catherine and the her team behind her, and very much lately with what the board have so far achieved. I mean, they've only been in existence for around about a month or less, and I think they've already had 6 meetings. So they're committed, which is really good to see. And like us as state and the stakeholders forum, we're definitely committed to and working in the best interests of our individual councils and as a region and on the whole. So thanks, Catherine, for all the work you're doing, and carry on.
Brian will keep an eye on you, make
He
sure.
will.
Okay, we have,
Can I make a comment?
yeah,
I just see that the requirements have been developed for the company office location, and I would just like to say we'd love to have you guys in Carterton.
Thank you. We've got a few options under consideration.
okay, we have one recommendation, and that's that we've received the report. We have a mover. Councillor Della and a second, Councillor Round. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Cool.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
8.2, Destination Wide Up Quarterly Report.
Feeling a bit better this afternoon?
Was it, sorry?
Feeling a bit better this afternoon?
Ask me that tomorrow.
Yes, it's been an exciting 48 hours. So I'll just give you a bit of an overview of tourism, much of which you've seen in the paper in the last few days. But things have been quite good tourism wise in the Wairarapa. 399 million over the last year, which is not a huge, it's not ginormous increase, but it's an increase. The particular thing was that the international expenditure component was up by 41.9%, which if you look across the whole of New Zealand, the whole of New Zealand only had a 15.8% increase in international visitor expenditure. So comparatively, we're doing well. Domestic expenditure is down, as we all know the cause of that, and it's not clear New Zealand wide what the impact of the war is going to be on general international tourism either. It looks, just some of our businesses here in the Wairarapa are saying that bookings are looking less firm for the July, August, September. So let's all hope that sanity rules. And the other thing, I mean, naturally, with the amount of expenditure, the amount of international visitor nights, spending overnights here is up. It's 44.7%. So essentially, if just sort of take a big view, we definitely can see there was a kick up that came as a result. Well, timing wise, it could only be the Lonely Planet Guide acclamation, and also the work that we've been doing with the Classic Wine Trail, attracting particular Australians to come down the side of the island and buy large quantities of wine and enjoy themselves. So that seems to have so that little kick up has seemed to have carried on. We're not sort of going like that, but we've got a bounce, and that bounce has stayed during these months, and I guess the good weather's helped as well. So, Anna, you can talk about the things we're doing, in particular in Q4 or Q3 rather, for Carterton.
Kia ora. I won't talk too long because I'm aware we're on a 5-minute curfew, but just to Roger's point. Just to Roger's point, we've talked a lot about building resilience in our tourism market, and that's domestic and international. And through Lonely Planet and the work we're doing in Classic New Zealand Wine Trail, we're achieving that. All we have coming into the Wairarapa is State Highway 2. Other regions have ports, they have airports. We don't have any of that. So the classic New Zealand wine trail is our best way to bring people in and move them out. And Carterton, unlike some, Maputo, for example, sits on State Highway 2. You would have noticed in those figures that Carterton is steady pretty much with domestic, and there's nice growth with international, which is really pleasing because if we were going backwards, that's a really hard number to try and make up. And I know you guys are really focused on your on the work you're doing in Wainawa and also the town centre. It's really great to see you studios opening up there. Awesome opportunity to work in conjunction with the Wairarapa Event Centre. It can only get better from here. And I think it's really an exciting time for tourism in Wairarapa. And Kat.
Thank you, Anne.
Any questions?
Thank you, Roger. Questions?
Just in terms of figures, you know, like they've got international spenders up or down or whatever. Where do they come from? They come from the card companies, do they?
No, they come from MB,
MB.
Ministry of Business Information, but they take them from, they used to do just cards,
Yeah.
but now they've extended it so they can pick up direct credits and what was the other thing they pick up as well? Online expenditure.
And Alipay and those sorts of
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
apps that payment apps.
So I guess the only way they can tell they're international is the source country that
Yes.
the transactions
Yeah.
are tied to. Right.
And then for domestic, they measure, I think from memory, it's if your credit card is attached to a bank that's 40 kilometres away from the destination, you're determined to be a
Local.
yeah. If it's less than 40, you're a local. If it's more than 40, you're a visitor.
Yeah, but you can't tell from what region you come from within New Zealand.
Yes, there
And-
is some data, but it's pretty high level.
Yeah.
We get an indication of where they're coming from,
Mm.
which we know is pretty much from the lower North Island, mostly Wellington, but also from Auckland increasingly, which is really great, and Christchurch. Auckland is almost like Australia, like an international market. It's so huge, and it's hard to tap into. And to draw Aucklanders is to draw Australians here. We've got to have a really high level of offering, and through what we're serving up through our marketing with Dark Sky, with food and beverages, places like Urla. It's absolutely appealing to those markets.
It does get to a point with the data that it's so fine that it actually runs the privacy issues. So that's why they tend to only report it at a higher level.
Within Auckland, 40 kilometres away, you could be a visitor in your own.
I'm sure they cope with that. Well, that's Auckland's problem anyway.
I think I even get a visitor with their CEO every day.
I think also there is something to that. My understanding of it is there's a primary and a secondary. So if you live in Wairarapa but you go in and out to Wellington for work, then that your primary place with spend is local, but your secondary would be Wellington. So you're not a visitor.
Roger was saying the data is so fine.
Yeah.
Any further questions?
I just had a question, and it's probably just because I was too tired when I was trying to read this. Page 21, looking at membership.
Yes.
Like to date, it's looking really good. It's up 224%. But then for the year, it's down 85%. I just wondered, are you on track to have greater membership than you anticipated, or I just couldn't quite see my
Sorry, we do the budget. Sorry. So the way that membership works is that our membership year isn't a calendar year or even a financial year. It's a historical thing. And so it finishes on the 31st of March. The first one's from 1st of April. And so what's happening is that we put the invoices out 1st of April. Most of them will get paid in May, June. So we're waiting for expenditure, for the income to come in.
So membership should just be what you projected it to.
Yeah, it should be.
Sitting. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Any further questions? Anna or Roger? No? Discussion? Thank you very much. And,
Thank you.
we have one recommendation, and that's that we receive the report. And I'll take the move. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Newman, all in favour? Against? Carried, thank you. 8.3, Wellington NZ, 2. Harsh. People before. Yeah, Anna?
Got it again. We won't take long because I know you've got a packed agenda, but I just want to acknowledge Destination Wairarapa and Roger and Anna for their update. Wellington NZ really values the partnership that we've got. The classic New Zealand wine trail and the tourism boost activity over the last wee while has been outstanding, and that is largely down to those guys. So I just want to acknowledge that and continue to support Destination Wairarapa. Again, we provided the report in 2 parts. The WEDS part, Wairarapa Economic Development Strategy, which is the 3 councils' contributions with some of the Greater Wellington funding, and then the wider work that Wellington NZ does. Tash is going to touch on 3 highlights, and then we'll open the floor to any questions.
Awesome. Hello again, everyone. You would have seen in the WEDS quarterly report where you've started to push play on some of the food and fibre things we've been working on, and that's just a symptom. We've had a lot of scoping and planning, and now we're pressing play on delivery. So it's very exciting to get into that. So the capability boost discovery sessions are wrapping up this week, and next week we'll have a good understanding across those 10 businesses where they need support to help them grow and start joining them on that journey. The future options you'll see over the coming month, we will start to have a bit of an action plan around higher value for our producers in the wool space, some stuff around olives and how we can support our local producers, particularly with the absence of the olive press, and also starting to explore whether kiwi fruit could be an option for Wairarapa. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on how that progresses. Just moving on to the Wellington NZ activity report. So Anna Nielsen and I have been working on the TRC business capability workshops, and we've got the second one kicking off in 20 minutes in the courthouse. That's working with 12 local businesses to get export ready product development for tourism into the region. And the first workshop was held a couple of weeks ago, and it was really exciting to be a part of, and some really enthusiastic businesses in the group in the room to progress. You might also remember last time I spoke about the dog show, which was a film filmed in the Wairarapa at the end of last year. You'll see some publicity starting to be released about this next month at Field Days up in the Waikato, and then you will see the premiere details for later this year. Any questions?
Thanks, Tash.
Good.
Sure, okay. Questions? Hey. Obviously, you are next door.
I've had enough of me.
A session.
Deputy Mayor.
Hi, everyone. I actually have a question for you guys with regards to a paper we have later on the agenda. I note in the WEDS paper you talk about 5 town trails and the importance of that. I wonder if you would have any comments prior to our paper later on about if council are supportive of the project and if we should take ownership of that. Is there any comments that you guys would make on that project?
Bridge. Yeah, it's probably a question that both Destination Wairarapa and WEDS Wellington NZ could answer. So it's a regional priority in the Regional Economic Development Plan. We know cycle tourism is massive. You will see that recently from announcements around the country from the Minister of Tourism that support great rides. 5 Towns Trail could be a signature ride in the Wairarapa that attracts and drives visitation. So it's definitely another reason why you would come and visit and stay longer and spend more money. Funding trails is really hard. So the user pays model has never been cracked. Obviously, you need to build the infrastructure and then people will come. So how do you find ways of doing that? And there are multiple ways of doing it, like sponsoring part of a bridge. They've done that in Queenstown. That worked really well. So tapping up the local philanthropics as well as lots of people with deep pockets and lots of money is a good way of doing that. But yeah, I'll look to the Destination Wairarapa crew to add to that, I suppose.
I guess my comment would be in Wellington, the new cycleway that's opening up along the harbour way there. I mean, if you haven't seen it, it's outstanding. It's really beautiful. But the opportunity for the Wairarapa is that once that's open, you will pretty much be able to ride from Wellington City. So get off the land on the airport and get a bus in and ride from Wellington City to the Wairarapa. So currently they can get through to Greytown. It's an awesome opportunity. As we head into this fuel crisis and what the future might be, cycle tourism is definitely on the rise. It's obviously something that's going to be challenging to fund, but there is absolutely an opportunity there.
Let's ask a question just related to that as to what is the makeup between, say, tourists as not living in the country, or actually more domestic versus tourists, which is also further out in other regions of the country and overseas. Do you know that figure at all?
Sorry,
so it's locally, went to cycling in the Wairarapa.
Oh, I wouldn't know that level of detail, I'm afraid. There is, in comparison to other regions like Central Otago, we are well down because we don't have the infrastructure that they do. Same with Nelson. There are various areas that build it and they have come and they continue to come. And we only have the Ramataka Cycle Trail that ends up in Featherston, but with very little accommodation and facilities on the way. The opportunity and the potential really lies in this valley, and the fact that you can get here from a capital city.
You really, I guess, to get the tourists, you've got to be listed on the cycle trails of significance, right?
Yeah. Well, Ramataka Cycle Trail is already a great ride.
Yeah.
And it does already, so there's an application to create that extension from Wellington to include that at the end of the Ramataka Cycle Trail. So that would mean that it's promoted as the RCT, one of the great rides, 23 in New Zealand. You start from Wellington and you end in Featherston.
Why Featherston? Why not Greytown?
Because that's as far as it's gone. That's as far as the Great Ride has gone. Now, to then get another extension onto Greytown, that's up to an application that you'd have to put with MB.
Yeah.
We are testing, because I sit on that steering group, we are testing to see by applying for the Wellington extension as a test to see how much we can get with MB to make those decisions for extensions. But it does take a long time.
Okay, thank you.
I just add two more things. You've got Tour of Aotearoa that travels the whole length of the country. That goes through the Wairarapa.
Okay.
So that's another reason why
it's a long ride.
It's a very long ride, but there's already an existing route. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that through Wellington NZ and the Regional Economic Development Plan, we're supporting the economic analysis for the 5 Towns Trail. So you've actually got some tangible numbers that you can stand behind. We're using Christine Angus and Associates, I think, to do that, because they're the ones that do it across the country.
And that piece of work will be focused on the Carterton to Masterton chunk, as well as telling the full regional picture of the economic size of the prize.
And here's I'm not sure who to ask this one, but has the growth been there, like since it's been put in, have you seen increase in patronage? I don't know how you measure it. Perhaps you've got cycle meters or something, I don't know, but
trail counters. So they've got trail counters along the trail. I know Greg Lang's been looking at those.
I understood the Ramataka Trail had about 70,000 cyclists per year.
The most popular section on the Ramataka Cycle Trail is from Kaitoki to Greytown.
Right, to Greytown.
Yeah, so even though that's not technically on the Ramataka Cycle Trail, consumers will ride where they want to ride.
Yeah.
And there is a road, a trail, there is a bridge. It does get them to Greytown. It's appealing. So Kaitoki to Greytown, out of all the sections for tourists, that is the most.
So the bridge is the draw card.
Yeah.
Thank you, team. Any more questions, discussion? Thanks, Stuart. Just from me, I mean, we've got one recommendation here. Just from me, when we think about a lot of these big rides around New Zealand, they've been lucky enough to have existing infrastructure that they've been able to build on.
Rail trails, yeah.
For me, it's a difficult process in the Wairarapa why Five Towns Trails kind of stagnated. They don't have specific things areas they can jump on to make use of or take over. It's all got to be agreement across various landowners and stuff to make it happen. But our discussion around the bridge will come and further on the agenda. But I just want to thank you for the work you're doing, and I know council's going to be having a discussion around whether we can continue on some work that you've done in Wainoa in another way, but we need to get cross-council support for that to occur. So, but just thank you for the work that you've been doing. It's fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. See ya.
I'm happy to move the recommendation that we received the report. We have a seconder. Councillor Gallen, thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 8.4, CE's report.
Your Worship, councillors, thank you. So I will highlight a couple of things in the report. Pleasing to see the toilets in Carrington Park, which are now completely wrapped and underway, which is fantastic to have finished the outside work. We've still got a little bit still on the inside, but pleasing with that. Obviously, just sticking with parks and reserves, Sparks Park is getting a new lime trail, whilst some of the other parks are struggling with rascally hedgehogs running around, which is quite cute.
What do they do?
There's stories of rascally hedgehogs.
Oh, like the story that I think little cute little families of hedgehogs.
I've got them at home, but yeah.
Story.
I was just trying to make my commentary interesting. I apologise. Pleasing to see we've got work underway. So we've done quite a lot of work at Flat Point. I'm pleasing to see that we're looking forward to the Pau Whenua, which should have an event in early July for that Pau Whenua, which will be a great thing to have out there. Animal control is coming up later in the agenda in terms of fees and charges, but also pleasing to see that our animal control officer is out helping the community with microchipping. Major projects have gone to policy and projects, so I won't really cover off much of those, and a lot of the work in terms of finances coming up later on in the agenda with our annual plan and quarterly report. So very happy to take feedback or questions, as well as feedback from the Youth Council, where I've got things wrong and they've spotted it.
Questions for Jeff? Okay, I'll kick us off. Oh, sorry, Councillor Burns.
Thanks for your report. On page 71, just under the regulatory and planning, you talked about a decrease in the number of building consents and allowing us to release one of our staff members to provide South Wairarapa District Council 2 days a week support. I was just wondering if you could elaborate on this a little bit, like what that means. Are they contracting that person, or just to hear a little bit more about that?
So we're keeping it's an arm's length agreement. So we've got a contract between us and it helps us balance the workload. So South Wairarapa don't need to employ a permanent staff member where they haven't got a full-time work available for them. It also assists with the team because some of the work that is done in South Wairarapa is different to the sort of building consenting that occurs in Carterton, so there might be more commercial work available, which gives our team a different perspective on what's going on. And if I might just indulge the council and ask Solitaire if she had anything to add.
No, it's just very much about that class working together. So, work support at South Wairarapa with animal control. We've just put a request to them, could they potentially be on call if we have anything that happens this weekend? So we've just had a little bit of a shortage in our that space for the weekend for, you know, a day and a half. So it's actually really nice to see the councils working together. The other example is Becca, our planner, is just doing a couple of quick, easy consents to master because they've just got a bit snowed under. But we had with that discussion, it's only if we've got capacity, but it's going to be swings and roundabouts. So, you know, I want some help in the EHO space rather than have a fully qualified EHO here to do
Environmental health officer.
2 campground inspections. And so, yeah, I think it's a really positive step forward. So, yeah, we can be helping and really get the staff member involved. And also our team leader is quite prepared to go down there and do some work that has some different, you know, more difficult consents because they want to get their competencies up. Yeah, so it's a really, really awesome opportunity for both sides.
I assume it's sort of like a very casual sort of thing. I'll help you, you help me type thing. So there's no compensation involved or any formal agreement. It's just
Contract. It's all based on that.
Okay, right.
On, you know, what your full-time salary is. So yeah, there's a percentage of the salary plus the personnel costs, like, you know, your Kiwi savers. So yeah,
it goes to the
contracted for a period of time to see how it works for both councils and the individual staff member, and then we'll see what happens after a period of 3 months. But we've got a 3-month contract in place.
Right. Okay.
The difference is with the resource consent processing, we're just doing that on a hourly rate because that's how we do we take our application fee that covers X amount of hours, and then this is the rate that goes over and above that. So we're just going to recover that as opposed to having a formal process because it's not going to be for a set 1 or 2 days a week. So it's going to be, oh, you know, can you do this boundary adjustment or this simple subdivision?
And we know it's all usually low risk stuff, but is there any health and safety issues result in you contracting a staff member out to another thing and something goes wrong?
No, the contract covers that. They deal with all the health and safety aspects of all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's within their contract. Yeah.
Great.
Jeff, I've got a question and I've got a few comments to make on your report. Just around the repairs that were able to be accommodated within existing budgets. My question is just around a potential claim that we can put in when these things occur. And do we have the ability to seek funding to support engineering inspections of the land above slips that occur that directly impact our roading network during those periods? Because I know one of our residents in Carterton was holding an event on a road where one of these slips had occurred and been cleared, but they were concerned about the land above the slip and was it stable. So my question is do we have the ability to ask for money to ensure the safety of our residents if they're moving along the road where a slip's occurred, that nothing else is going to happen?
Yeah, so it's a good question on the emergency funds or the way that NZTA operate an emergency event and how we deal with roading recovery. So we are able to claim for cleanup and reinstatement of the road. And that has different funding rates when we breach a threshold. So when there's more than X dollars, we have a higher funding rate. And I think in the Cyclone Gabrielle event, we ended up at a 91% funding assistance rate. But that only deals with the cleanup and recovery. It does not deal with any further investigation or remedial work that we may want to undertake outside of the emergency. So in this case, we are unable to claim off NZTA any additional work to investigate a future slippages. That would have to be funded by council.
Further questions? Just under information systems, Jeff, I'm just curious to know a little bit more about the Community Engagement app. Someone able to
Yes, yes, we've got an app. I might ask Jerry to help. I had a very old phone for a while and was unable to download the app and use it. There are a few teething issues, but at this stage we're working on a beta version of it with staff to figure out the problems and the bugs before we consider releasing it wider. But it's working much better now. Yes. He's doing very well on the smell of an oily rag.
I would say that we are fortunate with David Johnson, our managers, to enable us to trial some of these products at a much cheaper rate, free from when we might want to. Councillors can expect, it's just going through the ELT next week to have rollout for those councillors to have a look at it as well.
Great. Look forward to it. Discussion? Councillor Newman.
I've just got a comment following up on Youth Council's comment about the pass rate. Don't have an issue with that. I just feel a little bit uncomfortable with, I feel like what's a little bit of a political statement about the curriculum changes, particularly affecting neurodivergent and those with learning challenges. I just feel like that section maybe didn't need to be there. It just didn't sit super well with me. And then I just have one quick question, maybe for Glenda. Indigo on Time, is that Divine River rebranded or is it completely different? It's talking about Indigo on Time are running the reusable workshops and stuff at the library.
Yeah, I think it's one of the people from Divine River. It's not Divine River rebranded. I think it's one of the people from Divine River and it's now started something else.
Oh, cool.
Councillor Dallin.
Yeah, thank you. On page 75, Jeff, I was reading about the PO and the work that's been going on at Flat Point. Is the PO going on reserve land? Whereabouts exactly is it to somebody?
So we've got MOU agreement between the HAPU, the landowner and Carterton District Council. The landowner's been really amazing and supportive through this project, and he's carved off a piece of his land that we used for the coach to be there.
Is it near the subdivision? Yeah. Back at Flat Point.
It's more Glenburn way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Burns.
I'd just like to make a comment on your note on local government reform on page 74. Just a comment about the fact that I'm feeling that feeling worried about that tight time frame that's been given to us from central government. And yeah, I just feel like if we need to make sure we've got enough time to really get the data to make sure we're able to make really good decisions about future governance structure for Carterton and for the Wairarapa. Yeah, so just wanted to make a comment on that.
Okay, yeah, Jeff, I've got a few comments to make through your report. They're positive, of a positive nature. I just
Well, then all the bouquets should go to the ELT.
It's your report. Look, I really want to put a positive spin on this, on our toilet block, and the community. The feedback that we're receiving is fantastic, and it does look incredible. So well done to the team behind that. That's the first one. The second one is just looking at we're looking at rolling over the Fulton Hogan contract, and I think the positive news coming out of a 17A review that Fulton Hogan are actually doing a really good job for us with performance and so forth is will provide good guidance as to that rollover, and it's probably putting an onus on us that if we want to improve our level of service that to our community, that we'll need to look at adding some funding in our long-term plan discussions, which will give Fulton Hogan the capability to do a bit more work on our roading network around culverts and things, which we hear a lot of chatter out in our community about. So I just like to say it's fantastic that Fulton Hogan are doing a good service for our community. Sorry, just bear with me. I also want to acknowledge within that report the by-election that's going to occur, and I really want to acknowledge Adrian Staples and the work that she's done for the Wairarapa community over a long period of time, and also the passing of Darren Ponter's wife, Vicky, just in the last, on Friday evening, I think it was. I just want Adrian Staples' family to know that we were thinking of her, and we certainly enjoyed attending her celebration of life, and we're also thinking of Darren Ponter's wife, Vicky, at this set time. So I just want to acknowledge those two things. I was going to acknowledge them at the beginning of the council meeting, but I couldn't find my comments about it. The Poe's been mentioned. That's about all. So let's move on to our recommendations if there's no further discussion. And there's one that we received the report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burns, seconder. Councillor Della, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Adoption, 8.5, adoption of the annual plan. Mark?
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to say that this report presents the final draft of the 2026-27 annual plan for adoption. As council is aware, the document has been considered through various workshops, the council meeting on the 1st of April, and most recently the Risk and Assurance Committee meeting on the 6th of May, where the committee recommended the plan be adopted subject to a few minor amendments or additions, etc. So those have been incorporated in the final version. The annual plan remains closely aligned with year 3 of the long-term plan, with no sort of material changes to the level of service or strategic direction for the council. The key updates themselves include refreshed financial assumptions, updated NZTA funding allocations, the revised capital and operational program information, and continued waters depreciation at 50% for 26-27, and of course updated interest and financial assumptions. Importantly, though, it's great to note that through ongoing budget refinement and operational savings, the forecast average rates revenue increase has decreased from the long-term plan of 5.8% to 3.9%, and that equates to sort of 3.2% of growth. The growth factor is, as you know, the rates requirement for council is 3.9%, but there's been an increased movement in rateable properties from last year to this year of about 0.7%. So that increased rates or rateable properties, I guess the factor of the average of those increased properties as a result of bringing down that sort of rate increase down to 3.2%. So 0.7% year on year, which is a good achievement, I think. So, unless there's any other further questions, I'm happy to take any further questions. Sorry.
You're not getting away that. We know that you're not going to be here, so we're going to take quite a while with this, Mark. No.
I've got all the time.
Thank you for the report and questions for Mark. No questions. Discussion? No, I'm happy to lead that if you. I just want to say I think it's a fantastic result, and I think we're really seeing benefit with knowing where our financials are, and over it's taken a period of time, and Jeff's led that for a while and uncovering rocks and different things, but we've got to a point I think where it's giving us a lot more confidence around the table. And I mean, I 3.2% is just, yeah, it's outstanding really. And for our community to learn that and understand that we're looking across all of council to how we can stick to our knitting as such, and keep these rises to a minimum, because we know that they're suffering out there with the cost of living and the fuel and everything. So I think it's a fantastic result. So, yeah.
I just had one clarification amendment too. It's actually the things with the fees and charges. And unfortunately, I didn't pick this up in time, but we've got the animal control fees and charges paper coming. And the fees and charges that's been adopted here on page 120, it talks about the over 65 canine companion being applicable to urban only. That's now across the board because the rural prices have generally increased by that flat. So while previous years $75 was the exact price that the rural people paid for a dog, that's why over 65 only applied in urban when they paid more. This time round it's urban and rural. And the other one I just wanted to know for the fees and charges is that in the district plan infrastructure contributions, they have aligned with the contributions as per the new district plan now that we don't have an appeal on it. So they have gone up, but there will be a paper coming to your next council meeting which will just amend the associated policy to align those fees, but the consultation for all of that was via the district plan. So I just want to, the fees getting adopted, they're coming on 1 July, and we will at the meeting just amend the development and financial contribution policy to align with them.
Just a comment, I think it's remarkable to have such a low rate rise when by far the majority of our income comes from rates, and we're lower than other councils that get a fairly large proportion from other sources. So it's a real testament to efficiency.
Thank you.
Just talking about rate rises around the country, I did hear the Mayor of Waitaki on the radio this morning talking about the range of options that they're putting to their ratepayers, one of which is a 45% rate increase. I don't think they're proposing to do it. They're just trying to explain to people by not doing it what they're not doing.
So 20% looks cheap by comparison.
I think that was kind of the low end here. So, well done to the staff and management, I think. And a point that Deputy Mayor Grace made at the risk and assurance meeting was that it's not just that this is a 3.2 or 3.9% rate rise, that we're actually looking to collect $2 million less in rates than we were last year of the
long-term plan.
Yeah. That's starting to look like real money.
And just to add to that, Councillor Lawrence, the fact that we're still completing those infrastructure projects that we had planned, and
exactly, Carrington Park's going ahead, which is a great news story for our community. We've got the wastewater intake inlet project, which is also going ahead, which is again part of our strategy to hand over the best quality asset to YT Waters. We've not seen major cuts in levels of service. And we're keeping our rates rises low. So, it's a really good news story all around. The community are going to see benefits, and we're keeping a lid on rates.
So we need to brag about it.
Yeah.
We plan to.
Yeah.
any further discussion? We have some recommendations there. I might take the first four together, if you're happy with that. Number one, we received the report. Number two, notes changes made to the third year of the 2024-34 long-term plan have been reflected in the draft 2026-27 annual plan. Notes the Number 3, notes the draft annual plan 2026-27 is forecasting an average rate increase of 3.9%, which is 3.2% after growth. And number 4, notes continuing the approach of funding water's depreciation at 50% for 2026-2027. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Lawrence and Councillor Gallen, all in favour?
Okay.
Against? Carried. And recommendation 5 is that we adopt, pursuant to section 95 of the Local Government Act 2002, the draft annual plan 2026-2027, including the schedule of fees and charges in attachments 1 and 2. Should we have noting?
The over 65 dog.
That's the only place anyway.
So I'm happy to move that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Deputy Mayor Hayling, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Well done.
Thank you. Okay, 8 points. Just before we go on to 8.6, I'm just going to fall back to 8.4 because I did have one more comment I wanted to make.
Have to go to appreciations all over again?
No, whether you appreciate it or not, I don't know. It was on page 78 and it was just around the shared potluck curry lunch catered for by staff members. I was just curious because underneath that, it was written that there were 13 incident reports with severe pain and discomfort. And I'd just like to confirm that none of that was from the shared curry lunch. Thank you for that. I'm glad for that clarification. Now I can move on. Thank you.
Because they did invite us as well. We were probably lucky.
And none of us had pain and discomfort.
Thank you for that. Okay,
There was a
8.6.
second round of car cleaning, which went on, but we won't go into that.
Setting rates for 2026-27.
Thank you, Your Worship. The rates included in the report are actually part of the funding income statement that are included in the 26-27 annual plan. The setting of rates is a requirement of the Local Government Act 2002 and Section 3 of the Local Government Rating Act 2002. So what you see before you is the calculation and the factors for the rates calculation that will go out to ratepayers effective from the 1st of July. And as I say, that's a mirror image of what sits in the funding impact statement in the 26-27. Happy to take any questions on the proposed rating resolution.
Questions? No questions. No discussion? Everyone's happy? Well, yeah, let off easy again, right?
Can I just confirm, because this will become our rates for the next year, and I just want to reconfirm with you, prepared independently, double checked by the finance team.
Sure.
You're comfortable that you're satisfied. That's right.
Absolutely. It's been peer reviewed and QA'd multiple times. So very comfortable with that, Jeff. Thank you.
Just when you say reviewed, who's it reviewed by? Your own team or outside?
We had an external consultant prepare it, and then we checked and reviewed it.
So at my team, check, and I sort of then independently peer reviewed that. It's gone through multiple layers. So I'm very comfortable.
It's still got
one outcome.
If you get it wrong, you kneecap.
Yes, I'm sorting one out of me.
If you get it wrong, you get knee surgery. Well done.
So this includes, in here, we've got the rate for the SURPs in here. This is included in there, or we're going to have discussion about that.
Yeah, and that's the generic statement that's in there. Applying SURPs to that, so it doesn't impact on it at this stage.
There is no
impact.
No factor ascribed to it.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess we can look at that targeted potable water rate. We don't need to look at that now. We can.
If council would like, you could instruct officers to go away and have a review of the targeted potable water and raw water rates in the Wainawa area. If you would like us to look further and bring that back to council for reconsideration in the June meeting.
You're talking about sort of like variable charge or what?
Whether the current charge is
at 1 hour.
At 1 hour.
In particular in Wainawa, whether it's giving the right outcome that council is seeking in terms of take up.
Yeah, I'll support that.
You can have that as an action. That would be great.
Yeah, action points. Support that.
And that'll play through the fees and charges.
The deputy mayor's all good up there. Okay, I think we have one recommendation with this paper. That's that we received the report.
And then there's 4 pages of recommendations which you need to read, which probably could take all as one. From general rate, receive the report and then it should be a second recommendation.
Which
recommendation 2 pursuant to sections 23, 24 and 57 of the Local Government Rating Act, etc.
Someone tell me what page it's on.
That's on
143.
and that's what I was hunting all the way through for a second recommendation. It wasn't there. So
Just a long one.
Let's take number 1 that we received the report, and then we'll take a number 2, which is. So I'm happy to move that we received the report. Councillor Newman seconding. Thank you. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. And recommendation 2 is pursuant to sections 23, 24 and 57 of the Local Government Rating Act 2002, we resolve to set the rates, due dates and the penalties regime for the 2026-27 financial year as detailed below.
Move that.
Councillor Burns, thank you. Seconder? Anyone? Councillor Round, all in favour? Yes. Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Well done.
Good job.
First annual plan.
Well done.
8.7.
With your permission, I'll invite Sarah to join us at the table. As you will all know, Sarah has developed our community consultation questionnaire document, done all the promotion around it, social media, and driven along with the comms team very hard to get large numbers of communities submitting on our plan, and more than last year. So Sarah knows more about the community consultation than anyone. Welcome, Sarah.
Kia ora. I'm very pleased to present today the community survey results for 2026. Overall, they tell a really positive story of community sentiment and satisfaction with council and council services. Our governance and elected member representation scores increased 8% and 11% respectively. Our library and event centre achieved top scores of 89% and 85%. And our overall satisfaction with Carterton as a place to live grew by 2% on last year to 80%. So I'll take the report as read and ask if there's any questions.
What's interesting, I was just talking with Lou before, is how satisfaction with the high street has gone up and we've done nothing.
No. Sarah, sorry.
Oh, no. Well, what we have done is talk a little bit more about what we are able to do to the community. And I know Steve featured in a wonderful video for us in the promo. So I would consider that while we're reading the information there.
So to keep the score, we now have to deliver.
We could have had it playing in the background.
I am aware that there has been, there's been building work currently occurring on High Street, particularly very close by, which which is really positive.
Mm.
It has occurred since the survey. So that's really good news.
Councillor Dillon.
Thank you. Question for you, Sarah. On page 154, the low satisfaction scores, the council is working to protect the natural environment in the district, and like it's scored very low. That's your commentary. I see you have noted that it is a clear concern. Is it just because of mainly of the weather events, or is there other outlying factors that people are talking about that we don't know?
Well, that's an assumption that we could make based on the commentary that came through as well. And because that whole first week when we were going to launch the survey with a big hurrah online was actually a weather event.
Yeah.
So we just obviously couldn't talk much online because when we share those weather information instead. So there's a lot of different bits and pieces that happen around the same time that can see scores change. Sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Newman.
Question for you. Access to the raw data is restricted to 2 staff members only. Last year, we had visibility of all of the comments and stuff, which I thought was quite beneficial for us to actually be able to dig into things. Why has it changed this year?
So that was an outcome of the recommendation from the peer review that we did, that we needed to be a bit more, have a few more rules in place around who can access what, because we are a small community and a lot of the commentary can be identifiable.
So I could jump in. I think the keywords there are the raw data, not the results. So the raw data is the part that could potentially be altered and therefore influence the results. I don't like how that's turned out, so I'll change that. So access to the raw data is restricted, as Sarah has pointed out, but the access to the results aren't.
So we could see the comments that have been made against certain points.
We could see a summary of the comments. I don't think we could. I'm not sure if we published last year whether we published all of the comments.
Not publicly. So
published the summary of the comments.
We published summaries, and this year we've gone a little bit more into the detail, and so in the commentary elements that are presented, anything that is mentioned more than twice has been included in the commentary things, and then anything that has only been mentioned once has not been publicly released.
I thought it was quite beneficial last year being able to look through it, and it might only be mentioned once, but it might be a really good point or a really good idea that's been mentioned. So, but if that's how it has to be, that's the way it is. One other question with regards to, say, things like our library was in at 89%, which seems really, really good. But is there a way to benchmark that against other scores from other councils to see, like, is 89% actually good, or should we be aiming for 95%? Or
it's not something that I have looked into as yet, but similar councils have been in touch to ask how we are doing ours and to share that information with them. But I can certainly do some research about what other councils are doing in the.
It'd be interesting to know where this is.
Thanks, Councillor Newman. Deputy Mayor.
There was a comment in there around the indoor swimming pool and that people were wanting access to the indoor swimming pool. Were there any comments with regards to council funding the indoor swimming pool? Obviously, that's something that the public know there's a campaign to fundraise for. Was there anyone calling out that council should be funding this project?
Not specifically more than twice. I can't remember specifically. There are over 1,000 comments. If it was mentioned once, but I can have a look.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion? From me, Sarah, I just want to congratulate you on the outcome of the, well, I suppose not the outcome, but the outcome of the amount of people who participated in the survey. The new promotional campaign you did, I think obviously has contributed towards it. And you always take the pluses and minuses that you get in surveys. And sometimes it's always dependent on what's going on at the time. We've found that over the years. So I don't see that's changed now. So I just think we look across it all with wide eyes and take what we can out of it. But I'm certainly not going to take a deep dive into some of it. So I appreciate the community participating in our surveys. It helps us with our decision making. So thank you to the community. Councillor Lawrence.
I do think from my scientific study of the Carterton notice board that the council's hardly getting any mentions, which I see is a very good thing. So I think against the background of what I think is not apathy, but general some satisfaction in the community with where we're up to, that to get the level of submissions that you did, I know it did a lot of work, but I think it was good.
Well done.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on board and being part of it as well. Featuring, yes, and
Yeah, it was actually quite fun doing that. And even one of there still was a comment about people not having visibility of councillors or what's actually going on. I think there could be scope to do more with that, with councillors on social media. I think that would actually be working to that KPI as well.
Yeah, with our dark sky, we could certainly some unidentified phenomena.
So the shadow passes the screen and you have to guess which councillor it is.
But there.
Thank you.
Well done to you. We have one recommendation, and that's that we received a report, and I'm happy to move. We have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Casey. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Well done. 8.8, quarterly performance report for the period ending 31st of March 2026. Jerry, Mark?
Tēnā koutou katoa. So I'll highlight some of the non-financial reporting and answer any questions, and Mark can do likewise for the financial aspects as we go. But the community surveys been one of the key parts of work of this quarter, so the January to March quarter. And I think just to highlight around the governance aspect is a real win, a real key for a new council is to really be lifting that representation and perception, of strong leadership around the table. So really congratulate you all on pulling together as a new council and really lifting that result, and we should take pride in that. In terms of just a couple of the challenges, I'll highlight that as we talked earlier, the survey highlighted the pressure on the shared facilities and the public toilets. And now that we have great new thinking, clean and fresh toilets, that actually lifts the big perception. So it's really nice to be able to make that change for the community. The severe weather, we just talked about that in the previous paper, and I think some of that, as we saw in the public forum, actually speaks to the increasing severe events we have. That's generating a little bit of worry and uncertainty and concern for people, and I think some of that is feeding into, as we see more flooding events, for example, that does raise concern for many of our community. And the last thing I would just note is that this is our third quarter quarterly report, so we won't see a fourth quarter that we can bind into our annual report, which will be the next piece of work that we bring to you. Mark's got anything to highlight from that?
Yeah, other than overall revenue is about 3% above budget. Our expenditure line is more or less aligned with our budget, and sort of the bottom line surplus is about 500k or so above budget. Sorry. So I think, overall we're in good shape, and looking forward, I guess, to the year ahead, where we're going to set the budget, we're going to phase the budget, and probably have a lot more targeted focusing on the monthly performance, and have everything sort of probably more closely aligned and accountability across the organisation in terms of our forward reporting. Happy to answer any further questions.
Councillor Newman.
Favourite topic. Page 3 of the report, event income. It's $100,000 behind, and it's been commented that the income's below budget. The variance is driven by timing differences in event scheduling and bookings. How correct is that? Because that seems like quite a large variance. Are you still confident that we will be hitting the budgeted amount for event income?
Open up to Glenda a little bit on that. Please.
It's a really hard one because I think our system, we have to budget for it, but it's based on the income that comes in and then goes back out again. So the people that book the auditorium, if they're using us as the ticket holder, so if we're selling the tickets on their behalf, everything that comes in, we have to account for in our magic system, but then it goes back out again. So it's not our event income as such, and that's the
There's a timing impact on that.
thing that comes into that, but it has to come into our system and then go back out of our system. And
So the income itself doesn't mean much to us.
No.
It's what drops out the bottom.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Further question? I just said one around the 386 vehicles and trailers disposal of green waste for free over the severe weather event in February. Is that something we can take advantage of in the future if we continue on with our sludge trial?
Yes, it is. I would note that Masterton had a power failure, or that they had lost power at their site shortly after that event. So South Wairarapa and Carterton ran a free green waste trial that weekend. So residents could get rid of green waste that came down in the cyclone that they wanted to dump. And it is possible that we ended up with Masterton residents driving to Carterton because we were open and available and taking green waste free, and the Masterton, the MRF was closed. So yes, absolutely. If we continue on with the sludge trial, we will need green waste to as a bulking agent for that process.
No further questions, discussion. Councillor Dell?
Further to that, yes, Steve, I think we probably should do a promotion, another free green waste weekend, cut your hedge back off your footpath.
Oh, the old Trim the Bush campaign.
I wasn't going to say that.
Funny you mentioned that. I actually caught up with Elisa on down at the Gold Awards, the announcement of the finalists, and we had a bit of a conversation, a bit of a laugh around the campaign, and UFOs were mentioned.
And thankfully, the Broadcasting Standards Authority is going, so that won't. Lisa will be happy.
Good. No further discussion? We have one recommendation, that's that we receive the report. We have a mover and a seconder. Councillor Della and Deputy Mayor Ayling. All in favour? Aye. Carried. Thank you, team.
Well done, Jerry.
Okay, 8.9. Carterton District Trails Trust support requested for Waihini Bridge. Now we're into the real tough. And it's one of Glenda's reports.
I apologise.
I can't believe we got through Bates and they're calling your report tough.
So this one here, I think if you can cast your mind back to about 3 or 4 weeks ago, Carterton District Trails Trust and Grant Sideaway presented in a workshop to council around the at the time of the workshop, he posed a couple of questions to the elected members, and that was, do you support the bridge in principle? And if they can fund and build this bridge, will council consider future ownership of it? So closing off from those questions that he's posed, we've written this paper. We've just kept it quite high level because I think he gave you quite a lot of information in the background.
But ultimately what we get is a 155-metre single span suspension bridge that looks amazing. Total cost of the project is going to be between $2.5 to $3 million. I did note in the report the design lives. So on page 195, there is the image there around the design lives of all the materials used for the bridge. The estimated maintenance we calculated at 2% of the build costs, and we estimated the insurance at about 0.3 to 0.6 of the value of the build cost. Those build costs we estimated at the $3 million mark, so the higher amount. And then there was commentary in there around depreciation, which I think you guys are going to ask questions about. So I'll just leave that there for questions.
Thank you, Glenda. Questions for Glenda? You don't need me to leave it off, Councillor.
I should know the answer, but I always forget. Say you've put $60,000 there for the costs and stuff, and then say 18,000 for insurance, so 78,000. What is that on rates as a percentage?
So we've just adopted the annual plan, so ballpark $23 million worth of rates, which would mean 1% of rates is $230,000.
Okay, so it's
And
Glenda, I have a question.
Yep.
Has Five Towns Trails Trust been asked if they would consider taking ownership of the bridge, of the asset?
No. Short answer is no. Longer answer is the Trails Trust are designed to be I guess, overarching umbrella to support all of the individual trails groups in the development of bridges. So I don't think they were ever intending on being owners of assets.
I can follow up with that because I actually had a chat with Greg Lang yesterday, and he pretty much said that they, as an overarching thing, they don't want to take any assets.
Did he say why?
This is it's just because, well, the structure they've got, and I always think this is quite complex. It'd be nice to just have one trust looking after the whole thing. But I think it's the fact that we've got three separate councils that sort of help make it as bitsy as it is. But Five Trails doesn't own any of the individual things. It's made up of Carterton, South Wairarapa, and soon to be Masterton. So they're not in a position to own any of the assets. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Carterton that would own the asset.
Carterton District Trails Trust.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Five Towns was set up to be the umbrella organisation. We've got the master plan there with the signature trail for the whole region, and it set the guidelines of how we wanted these trails to operate. So I think Five Towns Trails Trust sits there and works with all of the community groups, all of the councils, anybody that's interested in developing trails, and makes sure that they've got the tools and expertise there to help them with that project, and then make sure that they're aligning with the master plan document from 2021.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my own personal view is I see Five Towns Trails should be sitting under the three councils, and we have an oversight of what they're doing,
yeah,
and support them as best we can. Not kind of we're going to be sitting under them with an asset.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I think there was lots of models that were looked at through the process of the setup, and then I think the long-term plan process where everything just got a little bit wonky for them, changed sort of how they're operating for this period. But it could be something that you could look at going forward with amalgamation.
Do you think there's a chance that if it's obvious that once it's funded, this bridge passes to the Carterton District Council, will impact on the ability of the Trails Trust to actually raise the funding? I know that there are some funders who won't fund councils, and this could look like kind of a workaround.
No, I think there's evidence to show that this has been done previously, and it's supporting the community groups to own a big, large asset. So I don't think the funders would be too opposed to the plan.
Councillor Delafield.
Yeah, just a question, probably, Glenda, the ownership, if Carterton Council take ownership of the Trails Bridge, the land that it's on, is not under our title. Is it under reserve or is it under private ownership? How do we get on there if we own an asset that's on somebody else's land?
So the asset will be on to landowners. One of the landowners is Greater Wellington Regional Council. The other is a private landowner, and that would be established through easements.
Wouldn't have to pay a rent on it or anything, I assume.
So we're taking ownership of an asset on somebody else's land.
Councillor Burns.
Yeah, I think it is a beautiful bridge, and I like the idea of supporting the trails and tourism. Like we had that discussion with Anna earlier. I guess my concern is that we're struggling to maintain our existing bridges, and although it's a different kind of a bridge, it still is a pretty significant annual cost. So if we were to support the project in principle but not commit to ownership, do you have any idea what that would do to the project? Or are there any other, I know we've kind of talked a little bit about the Five Trails Trust, but do they have any other potential organisations that would step forward?
Their preference is for council to own it, but they have been really open right through this process that they understand if we don't as well. So they are sitting as a trust, but they would they'd look at exploring the options with other people. But ultimately they could own it under their own umbrella. I think their concern would be how do they maintain and how do they insure and how do they depreciate? So it's the same question. Yeah.
From my point of view, I think the ability for us to say that we don't have to accept depreciation, therefore a replacement value, is really what takes a lot of the financial risk out of it. And so the only financial risk we've got is insurance and equipment, should I say, is insurance and maintenance and things like that. We heard from Anna today just how much extra cyclists are coming into the Greytown area. The bridge is the draw card, and this will be an even better bridge. And so my personal view is I have no trouble with the council owning this asset. I think it sends a good message.
Do you have a view on depreciation or not?
I think when I look at both the current legislation and the new legislation that's coming through in terms of our core purpose, I do have quite a strong view of depreciation on what I would consider our core activities, around roading and libraries and that sort of thing. But when it comes to a discretionary activity like this, I think council can be a lot more flexible in terms of not funding depreciation for an asset that it may not wish to replace in the event of a catastrophic failure. But if that were a library or a road or something, I think we'd be having a much different conversation.
We're kind of obligated to, aren't we?
I think we're obligated to under the Act, but under the, and even under the proposed changes in legislation, I would have thought that we'd be able to, I'm pretty confident we'll be able to accept an asset without funding its depreciation.
If we've insured it, then catastrophic
failure is covered.
Covered unless it's some problem with design, in which case insurance is probably not going to be happy.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Aylan.
Love that jersey. I love that jersey. That's just.
Question around liability. If something were to go wrong, and there were people on the bridge lightning struck, the bridge collapsed, someone was killed in an accident on this bridge, and council owns it. We didn't build it, but we now own it. Where does that fit within our liability and your role as the CEO, Jeff, and the risk does that put a risk on you?
Great question. Under the health and safety legislation, you're all exempt, so it's great.
Yeah, nice.
But it's not deemed a workplace. It's like a road. It's if we are working on the road or working on an asset, then that space becomes a workplace, and the health and safety laws and liabilities do kick in for me as chief executive. But in this case, it's a recreational activity. It's not a workspace, so I wouldn't have expected health and safety liability to kick in.
Okay, thank you.
How does that work with playground equipment? Because of accidents that occur at playground equipment, can't councils be responsible for that? Isn't that why Marsden District Council removed a tractor and a digger?
I think that comes back to the assessments. So we do playground audits. We have our playground equipment assessed. We would need to have the bridge assessed. If we're not having these assessments done or we've had them done and we notice there's dangerous things occurring or something's been flagged and then we don't do something.
Yeah. If we ignore advice that says there is an issue and we don't fix the issue, then obviously liability kicks in. Not health and safety, but liability kicks in. But if we are undertaking the assessments, as Linda has pointed out, and following those guidelines.
Councillor Gallagher.
I saw a cycle bridge a while ago and a big sign there, dismount and walk your bike across. Can't we do something like that? And if there's a lightning strike, stay off the bridge or something like that?
Because everyone gets warnings for lightning strikes. I think absolutely if there are issues with, particularly in high winds, the risk of sway or movement, wave, there's absolutely, we will have signage for cyclists. I totally agree.
I think about too is we know South Wairarapa has taken over the ownership of the Te Hurinekau Bridge. We do the same with this bridge. Then Masterton, I assume, would see the pattern, and if there's one put across Wainawa, then that connects all the regions up.
That would be good, but the longer that doesn't happen means the longer tourists stay in Carterton.
Oh, yeah. Well, we can always close their bridge.
That's right, one end of it will be ours.
Yeah, well, yeah.
When did you last get hit by lightning? I've just got a question, Glenda, and kind of goes along the lines of what Councillor Casey's been asking her, or Te Hurinekau Bridge. South Wairarapa councillors are saying don't take ownership of it. I've just got a question around, you mentioned having insurance for the bridge. Did they not have insurance for the bridge when they accepted ownership of it because they had to front up with a bill of around $150,000 to $200,000 to add or variances to it because of the swaying and so forth? So that was a unbudgeted expenditure, and I'm curious.
The bridge was built to design, and so the contractor handed over and said, we've reached practical completion. I built it as it was designed, as was on the plans, and there you go, it's all yours. And what was found afterwards was that the design was not sufficient for high winds, and so the bridge needed additional work to be undertaken. I think what we've learned in that case is that we need to go through a process of making sure the design will pick up high wind and high shear,
And then I think in terms of officers, there needs to be a more formal process of acceptance of that asset before it comes to council, so that there is independent supporting information, not just advice from officers, but there is somebody, engineering expertise that gives us confidence that the asset we are taking is fit for purpose.
Yeah, so we do our due diligence essentially.
And so would that sit under the agreed asset transfer conditions?
I think, yes, absolutely. We need to ensure that it's fit for purpose.
And at what point would council be comfortable? Would it be a period of time just seeing how the bridge performs? Because to me, that's something that I would want surety about kind of before saying, yes, we want to accept ownership of it.
Yeah, you'll be the first to ride over it. See if you get to the other end.
Since Steve, especially if it's a cloudy, rainy day.
I think the sign and walk my bike across. Normally there is a period following a contract where practical completion has been reached, where there is a period of remedies, and also where the faults are found that the contractor is able to fix them. So perhaps, and that can last for up to a year, perhaps we wait for that period to expire before council considers accepting liability accepting the asset for the bridge, which may deal with a whole lot of those issues that occur in the very early stages of an asset's life. So, if council wish to consider that, you may wish to say, well, we'll accept it after the first 12 months and it's proven that it's up to spec, or 6 months, or.
Deputy Mayor?
I'm not sure if this is a question for Glenda or Jeff, but with other assets like this around the country, who would generally own it? I remember in our workshop a couple of months ago, I think it might have been Councillor Lawrence made the comment, it would make sense for anyone else to own it more than council. I think it was Steve who said that. Because of the fact we had to depreciate it, then we since found out that we didn't have to depreciate it, which changed that equation. But who would usually own an asset like this? And if it isn't council, how does that entity or trust or whatever fund it? Would it be a continued donation sort of process to have something? I just don't know how this would survive without council owning it, but I don't really want to own it. But I'm curious what happens around the rest of the country with this kind of thing.
I think there's a mixed model right through the country. So some of them are government owned and they sit with DOC. Some of them are council owned. Some of them are trust owned. So there is a real variety of who does what and how, which, yeah, sort of comes back. Yeah.
And I think it depends on partly on where the land, who the landowner is, but also some of the funding. And Grace, I think charitable trusts are often set up to take over these assets, or at least build these assets, because that's the easiest way to get external funding from lotteries, from the grant agencies using a charitable trust. And a lot of the grant agencies won't fund a council, and then it is transferred to council once it's built. So it may need to be a different structure or different ownership depending on where it is in its life cycle. Is it just being funding, or is it now maintenance?
Or the flip side, councils have got really strong agreements with these trusts and the trusts own them, but the councils are heavily funding them. So it's, yeah.
Just to follow on, you've said that they they understand council's position if we weren't to take it on. Do you get a sense that this project will continue regardless?
Yes.
Are they making headway with regards to getting funders and that kind of thing?
Yep, they've got some they've got some movers and shakers on that trust that are just going to keep going. No one's going to get in their way.
Because I do wonder if there is a need for us to make a commitment at this point, where if we are making conversations around amalgamation and whatnot, this could be parked for a later date. If it's going to get built anyway, they could hold ownership for the time being, and then once it's built, it's working well, then it could maybe be transferred over to the Wairarapa Council or that kind of thing. Is that all possible?
I think anything's possible at this point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. From my perspective, I think agrees to the Waihinei Bridge project in principle. I think it's a great start, but also in kind of option 2, that the last wording around agreed asset transfer conditions. I mean, that could mean quite a number of things really, and you could have that in there as a, Jeff's mentioned, a 12-month
stand down.
Yeah,
Yep.
period. Because I would personally be more comfortable with that in there rather than us accepting ownership from day dot and then we're responsible for a whole lot of issues that are found. I'm not sure what everyone else thinks around the table.
Perhaps it could say negotiate agreement on asset transfer conditions. Not committing ourselves to an agreement, but enter into a negotiation.
Negotiated transfer conditions, asset transfer conditions.
I quite liked Grace's idea of supporting it in principle at this stage and not closing the door on ownership, but maybe revisiting that at a later date. So not commitment on that today.
I personally would like us to do that. I think it's a message to the community that we want Carterton to grow and we want to be part of that. It's not committing us highly in terms of finance, apart from just maintenance and insurance, but that's a very small proportion of rates. So to just sit on the fence at the moment, I think is the wrong message.
Usually I agree with Simon.
Not get down as a first.
If it's costing us an estimated $700,000 a year, I think that we would get that back dozens of times over in terms of growth in the district. I think it could be an absolute game changer. So any signals we can send that we are supportive of it, I would support.
And it kind of feeds into the long-term plan discussions as to how we're going to connect to Clearville and to Marsden, I guess. So further discussion. Does anyone want to move one of the options?
I'll just comment and then I'm happy to move an option. I think this is a good example of us doing something awesome for Carterton that will be there for a long time in the future, and there could be many things that come from it. So I'm quite supportive of it as long as we cover ourselves as much as we can. So I agree on having that time frame and making sure it's completely fit for purpose and tested and all of that kind of thing. And I think with amalgamation somewhere in the future somehow, I think doing things for Carterton right now is really important to start setting us up. So I'm happy to, do you want me to move it?
Shall we, let's do number 1, and that's that we received the report.
You're talking about the report.
I'm happy to move that we receive the report. Have a seconder. Councillor Newman, all in favour? Against? And Lou, you'd like to?
I will move that we agree to support the Waihinei Bridge project in principle, future ownership and management of the completed bridge subject to final design compliance, confirmation of funding, and do we want to reword that or just agreed asset transfer?
And
Negotiated
asset transfer conditions. I think it's a great option. I'm happy to second that. Okay, all in favour?
Aye.
Against? Do you want your votes against noted? Deputy Mayor Ayling and Councillor Burns. So that is carried.
Thanks, Glenda.
Thanks,
you, guys.
team.
Right, we'll be very happy.
Good conversation.
Do you want a break before you go to the next?
Yes, thank you. So I'll adjourn the meeting for, let's go for 3:10.